even in your industry, really. As John said, I don't sell real estate, but what I did figure out is, in the middle of the crisis, what had crept into the psychology of buyers and sellers. And what we saw was fear. When the product came out and people like you started to come into our office or tweet us or Facebook us and reach out to us asking if we could help them, the terms that they started to use were, we're fighting for survival. We're fighting to get people to list. We're fighting to get people to buy. And what occurred to me is that we're in the middle of an epic battle to overcome fear right now. And it's pervasive in home buyers. And at its root, it's caused by a loss of faith in the value of homes. And none of you out there caused the current state of depression. But it affects you every time you talk to a buyer or seller or try to recruit an agent or get a listing, and you have to assuage fear. Where are we going? Ed talked about the economy spinning and it's lost its momentum. Nobody knows where we're going, or at least that's the perception. But realtors are in a unique relationship in the home buying and selling experience that positions you and your agents to be a part of the solution, because you're not just selling homes. You're selling dreams, you're selling hope. And people don't believe it anymore. You can help make that distinctly American dream of homeownership come true again. But we can't lose sight of the fact that the home purchase is emotional at its core. And what we need to do, and I'm stretching it, calling myself an industry leader, but we're establishing a new industry here, is that you have to be empowered to overcome what we're calling the FUD factor: fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which is preventing Americans from buying homes or selling homes or moving on with life. Margaret talked about the demand, that people are not getting together and establishing households anymore. Not that they don't want to, but they're afraid to. Margaret and I had a chance one day to discuss the psychology of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and there was an agreement with many economists who are convinced that these psychological barriers have a greater impact on the overall economy than basic economic fundamentals. Now think about that. What's happened is people are ignoring the fact that, are we growing? Are we recovering? It doesn't even matter anymore. They believe what they read. They've lost their way. All of you are familiar with Robert Shiller from the Case-Shiller Home Price Index. And recently he wrote a book about how people's economic behavior isn't based on economic fact anymore, but only on the stories they hear. He says that stories or narratives about the economy are like thought viruses that spread through the economy, like a contagion. He concluded that consumer fear and uncertainty will persist until and unless we find a way to replace the current story of a down-and-out housing market with something more inspiring. And all of you are the storytellers. So how about an inspiring story? Let's call it A Tale of Two Cities. Some of you might be familiar with it, right? Charles Dickens' classic. But this one is not a work of fiction. This is based on a true story. In one sense, however, it's very much like the original in that the narrative encompasses the best and worst of times, the heights of wisdom and folly, periods of despair and hope, and seasons of darkness and light. In this tale, there are two cities as well, but instead of London and Paris, we're going to call them Bubbleberg and Stabletown. So let's talk about Bubbleberg, right? You never heard of Bubbleberg, but I know all of you are painfully familiar with what happened there. It's the same thing that occurred in many cities across America. The market saw a period of great growth, and this is Phoenix, followed by a period of rapid, precipitous decline. And we all know that what that graph represents is a bubble. That's burst. And this one started bursting in 2007. And the story about its bursting became a contagion and has traumatized a generation of homebuyers. Now let's take a look at a very different city. Let's go over to Stabletown. And Stabletown's name comes from some place where there's slow and steady, consistent growth. Stabletown weathered the same inclement economic conditions as Bubbleberg, except its housing market. We recognize Stabletown as Syracuse. So why was Syracuse immune from the psychology of bubble mania? Why did it maintain its stability? We know that part of the answer is found in a project called the Syracuse Neighborhood Initiative, which all the way back in 2002 enabled homebuyers to protect their value from market corrections for a one-time fee of just less than 2% of their home value. This wasn't a hugely novel idea. It had been done before. But this was the largest scale effort for this type of product. So what did Robert Shiller find? His Yale group published the results about what happened in Syracuse. And what he found illustrated the positive effect that market protection has on the psychology of homeownership. Market protection came to equate value. It was seen as stabilizing, comforting, security, no more risk. In December of 2008, none other than Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke called for a mechanism to mitigate the market risk for homeowners. A reporter in a crowd about this big asked him why the government didn't just step up and provide the market hedge. Now you have to understand the timing of when this is happening. December 2008, in the middle of the greatest collapse since the Great Depression. Bailouts, failures. You think the government wanted to even entertain the idea of stepping up with another huge product? No. So what did Ben Bernanke say? The private sector has to solve the problem and come up with a product which protects homeowners against future market declines. This is what will stabilize the markets. So earlier this year, after 2.5 years of effort, my company, EquityLock Protection, and our team came out with home price protection that protects homeowners' value from future market declines at today's home price, without being insurance and without being an investment contract, so that realtors, who are our focus, can insert it into the real estate transaction and use it to move people forward, get them over their psychological barrier. And there's real significance to this when it comes to restoring consumer confidence. The fact that it's not insurance is important for all of you. Insurance products pay when a house price index goes down and that particular individual loses money on their home when they sell their house. In other words, they have to have a loss. Well, if I buy something and I have to have a loss in order to file a claim, am I motivated to be a good homeowner? Am I motivated to keep my curb appeal up, put a new kitchen in? Do I care? If someone's going to write the check at the end of the day, I really don't care. We saw that as a problem because that's not good public policy. That's not promoting home ownership. We want homeowners to embrace their neighborhood, be real homeowners, because that in turn improves the overall value of the community. And simply put, if your home value goes up, all the homes around you go up. So in contrast to insurance, the product, home price protection, was designed to pay homeowners just when the market went down. When their local index drops, they're entitled to payment when they sell their house. They don't have to have a loss, which means they could end up selling their house because they maintained it and put improvements into it for a profit, but the market went down at the same time and they're going to get a check from us as well. Now, this finally is real protection from a market that is out of our control. What happens in Greece affects homeowners in Compton. It never used to be like this. It used to be if I bought a house and I kept it up, it would go up in value. Now, if Greece borrows too much and the bank that lent money to Greece is invested in the bank that I'm trying to get a mortgage from, my neighborhood value goes down. It's this protection that is moving people forward, overcoming the psychological barrier, restoring real estate values and consumer confidence across the country. And home price protection is designed to be given to realtors to put out on a house as an incentive to bring buyers to the table, to gain listings, for owner brokers to recruit agents back into the business, because we have something that will make people look at listings again, want to buy. Again, remember what Margaret said, there's huge amounts of pent-up demand. We just need to get that demand moving forward. And speaking of incentives, there's a little subplot I want to talk about in the Tale of Two Cities. Let's call it a tale of two listings. And this is from actual experience now over the last several months. Picture two houses on the same block. Identical in every way. Same number of bedrooms. They're right across the street from each other. They were built by the same developer. The last family moved into them at the same time. The only difference is that one of them has market protection. You have one house without market protection, and potential buyers come in and they feel compelled to negotiate the price to its absolute minimum, or they sit on the fence refusing to make an offer for fear that that house is more like the car they just bought. You're at the closing, you hand them the keys, and they walk out thinking, my house value just went down 20%, or 30, or 40, or 50 in some places. That other house has market protection. The psychological comfort of, for the next 15 years, if the market goes down, I'm protected. I'm not subject to something out of my control. My value is preserved. The house with market protection is attracting buyers like a magnet. People are looking at it to see what's being offered. They're not engaging the realtors in the conversation of what is the market going to do, asking all of you to be able to forecast where the real estate market is going. Instead, they're asking, how old's the kitchen? Is there granite in the kitchen? What's the school district like? What are the taxes like? What are the utilities like? As I said, both of these listings exist today. So which one do you want your agents, or if you're a realtor yourself, at the tip of the spear, which one do you want as a listing? What degree of confidence are buyers getting from the homes that you're trying to sell, or to the listings you're trying to bring in? Which listing has incentive and benefit written all over it, and which one's going to sell first? We need more protected homes to restore confidence and unleash this pent-up demand. And all of you can move people from the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of Bubbleberg to the peace of mind of Stabletown. Now, again, we didn't cause the problem, but we can surely do our part in writing a news story called Restoring the American Dream. American Dream. And I don't mean to make a point of this, but there's a reason why foreigners are buying up our houses, because we don't believe in housing anymore as Americans. More buyers means more traffic to every house. More demand means more sales, means prices start to move up. And just as a side note, this is economics, supply and demand, right? Most of the conversations that I sit in, everybody focuses on the supply. How much inventory is out there? How many REOs are out there? But nobody until EquityLock dealt with demand. What is holding up demand? We know it's there. Why aren't people engaging with you? I think we all agree that if we can push the demand needle by instilling faith and confidence in the home as an asset with value, the core of what we think is valuable to us, we can write the story with a happy ending. And our job at EquityLock is to help you bring that hope back to the buyers and make this story a reality.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you very much.